A terrible event took place in that 16-minute gap from the video cutout to the heart monitor silence. The big question remains, is she still with us? Where has she been taken? Who is the figure behind that mask? Is it Tommaso Cian, or is it a complete stranger? Why was the rear entrance left unlocked? And how does Annie's vehicle tie into this whole nightmare? Why execute two separate warrants on their home if nothing connects them to the deed? Was there any way to stop this? Stronger locks? An emergency alarm? Moving in with relatives? Or was this a hit where precautions wouldn't matter? No jail sentence undoes this. This investigation exposes just how fast our sense of security can be ripped right out from under us. A person can simply disappear from their sanctuary overnight. Tech records all the details, but misses the vital clue we are desperate for. We need closure, yet we watch relatives shift from mourning victims to primary targets in just 72 hours. Was this preventable? If Tommaso Cian didn't do it, how does a man bounce back from being accused of vanishing his wife's mother? Nancy Guthrie, 84 years old, a beloved mom and grandma, has been missing for 15 long days now. If that figure on the porch cam looks familiar, or if you spot that specific brand of hiking pack, or maybe you notice something odd around the Catalina foothills from February 1st until now, please contact the feds. The number is 1-800-CALL-FBI. Your identity will be protected. There is a $100,000 bounty for information. Catch us on the next Crime Shadows, where we dig into a caller who might actually be the killer. Hit that sub button for stories the mainstream media misses. Fresh content drops weekly. Imagine a masked stranger approaching an 84-year-old lady's entrance at 1 o'clock in the morning, stretching toward her surveillance cam. He begins tearing leaves off the shrubs to block the view. 45 minutes pass, and her heart monitor loses its link to her mobile device. She vanishes without a trace, and investigators are currently scrutinizing the last individual to spot her breathing, her very own son-in-law. This event is fresh and unfolding right now. Nancy Guthrie, 84 years of age, and mom to Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie was snatched from her residence in Tucson, Arizona on February 1st, 2026. Officials are tight-lipped about the identity of the figure on the footage, yet reporter Ashley Banfield, referencing police insiders, suggests something else. Nancy's son-in-law, Tommaso Cian, might be the #1 person of interest here. Traces of Nancy's blood appeared right on her entryway. The application for her heart device went offline at 2:28 a.m. Her relatives realized she was gone 12 hours afterward. There is no evidence she is alive, no one in handcuffs, and no sign of Nancy. The FBI has sifted through 30,000 leads. The reward currently stands at $100,000. How exactly does an 84-year-old female with trouble walking simply evaporate from her private residence during the dead of night? Why are detectives combing through her daughter's property and hauling away her daughter's vehicle? Welcome to the Nancy Guthrie investigation. Police have just crossed into the 3rd week, facing more riddles than resolutions. Make sure to follow Crime Shadows. It was January 31st, 2026. Nancy catches a ride via Uber to her eldest daughter Annie's place around 5:30 in the afternoon. They had supper, played some cards, enjoyed family bonding. Annie Guthrie, along with her spouse Tommaso Cian, are the hosts. Things are standard, everything seems okay. At 9:48 p.m., Tommaso gives Nancy a lift back to her house in the Catalina foothills, a silent desert community north of Tucson. Nancy's garage opens up, it shuts tight. At 9:50 p.m., Tommaso heads out. Nancy is secure inside, by herself. At least that was the assumption. Nancy resides alone. She has called Tucson home for more than 50 years. Her mind is sharp, she is self-reliant, yet she struggles with physical movement. Sheriff Chris Nano states she could not travel 50 yards on her own. She relies on a pacemaker. Daily meds are a must, but she is in her own house. 12 a.m. comes and goes. Then, security video shows a disguised male walking toward Nancy's front entryway. He is dressed in total darkness, sporting a ski mask, gloves, trousers, a coat, and he is hauling a black 24-liter Ozark Trail hiker bag, the type you pick up at Walmart. Also, he has a handgun strapped to his waist. The guy stares directly at the lens. He is aware it is watching. He stretches out, begins snatching greens from the adjacent plants, attempting to obscure the view, but fails. Consequently, Fox News reports claim he shatters it. Tiny shards of glass were discovered below the camera fixture later on. At 1:47 a.m., the Nest device cuts out, fading to black. 25 minutes afterward, at 2:12 a.m., a separate sensor on the grounds picks up motion, yet captures no visual record. Since Nancy lacked a current payment plan, retrieving the clip was impossible. The incident took place within that time frame, 16 minutes post-motion alert at 2:28 a.m., when Nancy's heart monitor app unlinks from her cell. That marks her final digital footprint. Nancy had plans to visit a buddy the following morning, February 1st, for an online church viewing party. She never arrives. The friend rings up the kin. By 11:56 a.m., Nancy's family members pull up to her residence. The entry is not bolted. Her private items are still there. Her mobile, her prescriptions, all the essentials she would take if leaving on purpose. Yet Nancy is missing. At 12:03 p.m., the family dials 911. Officers arrive and locate the evidence. There is blood on the entryway. Not a massive amount, but sufficient. It belongs to Nancy. This comes from Sheriff Nanos. Per the police contact speaking to Ashley Banfield, blood was also identified inside the dwelling, not merely outside. The rear exit was standing completely agape. Here is the truly disturbing part. Nancy was physically unable to leave, even if she wished to. Her physical limitations ensured she could not reach the end of her driveway unassisted. Plus, the landscape surrounding her home is desert, full of rocks, and harsh. Attempting to walk would cause her to fall. Carrying her would require a car. But where is the car? Where has Nancy gone? How would you react if you saw this unfold? Drop your thoughts down in the replies. Who exactly is Nancy Guthrie, and why is the whole country glued to this mystery? Nancy is not just some anonymous senior citizen. She gave birth to Savannah Guthrie, the co-host for NBC's Today Show. Long before Savannah was a celebrity, Nancy stood as a cornerstone in her Tucson neighborhood. She relocated to Arizona over 50 years back, brought up her girls there, and established her roots. Pals call her generous, witty, and free-spirited. Age 84 did not slow her down. She handled her own driving, ran her household, attended services, enjoyed card games with kin, and lived life by her own rule. The bond she shared with her girls was tight. Savannah came by often. Annie, the eldest, resided close by and visited all the time. On the evening Nancy vanished, she was over at Annie's place. They dealt cards, shared laughs, and scheduled future meetups. Things were standard. Nancy departed at 9:48 p.m. Alongside Tommaso, she hugged everybody and headed home. 12 hours after the incident, she had simply vanished. There was no goodbye, not a single note, and no call. Just a pool of blood on the porch and a disconnected pacemaker. Was she aware that she was in danger? Is it possible that she could have fought back against her attacker? Or did this attack happen so fast she didn't even have time to scream? Tommaso Cione, 50 years old, is married to Annie Guthrie, the victim's oldest daughter. And according to multiple news reports, he is now caught right in the center of a massive media firestorm. On February 4th, journalist Ashley Banfield dropped a bombshell on her crime podcast, Drop Dead Serious. She cited a highly placed law enforcement source who told her that Tommaso Cione may be the prime suspect in Nancy's disappearance. Here is what Banfield reported. According to her insider, Annie Guthrie's car was towed and taken into evidence. They believe there is some connection between Annie's vehicle and Tommaso. The security cameras at Nancy's house were smashed, not just tampered with. Investigators found blood inside Nancy's house, not just on the exterior, and the back door to the residence was left wide open. Tommaso Cione, according to this source, was being looked at as the prime suspect within 24 hours of Nancy's disappearance. However, the Pima County Sheriff's Department immediately pushed back hard. Sheriff Chris Nanos held a press conference on February 5th and stated clearly, "We do not have anybody here listed as a suspect at this time. Nobody is eliminated, but we just really don't have enough to say this is our suspect, that this is our guy or our gal. We simply do not know that yet." He went further, calling Banfield's reporting reckless and saying it could damage the investigation and innocent individuals. I'm currently outside the house that is being searched where this subject lived. We are told there was a traffic stop conducted very close by. This is the subject being questioned in the Nancy Guthrie investigation. I am with Josephina. This is her house, and the subject is her son-in-law. Is that correct? Can you tell me how this happened? Where was he located when he was detained by the officers?
My daughter and him were out with the kids, my grandkids, delivering food orders when they got stopped right here.
And I do not know what kind of questions they asked him, but when we got home, I wasn't here. When we returned, we found out that they had already taken my son out. They went right inside. They actually busted the doors to my house to get in. They stormed inside, took my son into the living room, handcuffed him, and then dragged him outside. That is the time that we got home and saw what was going on, and they refused to say anything. I asked the officer, "Do you have a search warrant to go in my house?" And they said, "We don't need a search warrant. We can do that if we want to." So I told him, "Yeah, I think you actually do need a search warrant. Why did you break my door? You took my son the wrong way. I mean, you really hurt him. His wrists were injured by the handcuffs. Let me ask you, were you familiar with the Nancy Guthrie case?" Okay, had you seen that she was missing? I looked at it. I saw it on Facebook, but since I don't know her, I didn't read the full story. Did they take electronic devices at all? Did they take your phone? I do not have anything. They took my phone away. They took my phone, my husband's phone, my daughter's phone, my grandkid's phone, and my son-in-law's phone. Let me show you these pictures really quick, Josephina, of the suspect. Give me a second while I pull them up on my phone. These are the pictures from outside Nancy Guthrie's house. This is who they are looking for. Does this person or do the eyes look like your son-in-law at all? No, not at all. Do you see the mouth? Yeah, no, he does not look like that. Brian, can you ask what her son's name is? What is his name? It is Carlos. Carlos Parras. Is that it? Sorry. What is his first name? Carlos. His name is Carlos. And what is his last name? Parras. Okay. I don't think so. So, does he work in Tucson? Would he ever be in the city of Tucson? He is in Tucson all week. He works delivering boxes for a service like UPS, and he works with a legitimate company. And I told them, you can call the company where he works and verify that he is working. And is your daughter also detained? No, they just let my daughter and my grandkids go. Okay, thank you very much, Josephina. Yeah, so that is sort of the latest update from here. Jesse, they took her phone too, her husband's phone, her daughter's phone, and obviously her son-in-law's phone, and they are searching her house right now. So this is sort of an unfolding situation. It is probably one of the craziest things I think I have ever seen. I have been through the Gary Triano bombing. I have seen the Elizabeth Koss case, but nothing quite like this. I gotta say, it takes some serious nerve for that deputy to be kicking back at a hoops game last night instead of working the case. Honestly, I find that kind of behavior absolutely repulsive. Look, everyone deserves downtime, but you don't clock out during a crisis like this. Anyway, how long have you been a local? I have called Tucson home for roughly 36 years now. Are you from the neighborhood? I am only 15 minutes away. Got it, a 15-minute drive. Since you know the area well, what is your theory on how this all went down? When you look at the facts, what does your instinct scream at you? My intuition points straight at the son-in-law. It just feels like there are way too many coincidences piling up against him. One minute he is posing for photos, and the next, he completely vanishes from the public eye. Has anyone heard a peep from him? He has gone completely dark. While the rest of the family, like Savannah and her siblings, are out searching, he has not lifted a finger to help. Maybe he is dodging the press, but his absence raises massive red flags for me. Banfield, however, is not letting this go. On February 12th, she strengthened her stance during a chat with Dan Abrams on satellite radio. She claims her insider remains confident in the intel every single day. Plus, several details she broke initially have since been verified. Law enforcement admitted they hauled off the daughter's vehicle. Also, the security cameras were definitely destroyed. Fox News verified that shards of glass were found below the lens, and detectives raided the couple's home not once, but twice. That initial sweep occurred on February 8th. Police arrived at the residence around 7:30 in the evening and searched for nearly 3 hours. People living nearby reported seeing camera flashes popping through the windows like a crime scene investigation. Officers walked out with latex gloves on, hauling away several brown paper sacks filled with potential proof. Reports state the couple let officers in voluntarily without a court order initially. However, police returned with a warrant on February 15th. They grabbed more items but made no collars. Still, the fact that they circled back speaks volumes about their focus. Eyes are definitely on that home. So, who exactly is this 50-year-old man, and why is he under the microscope? He has been the daughter's husband for a long time. Their place sits just about 4 miles away from where the victim lived. Records show he was the final person to see her alive. He gave her a ride, knew her schedule, and understood her security setup. This is where things get complicated. Leaked information suggests the rear entry to the victim's home was discovered wide open. If accurate, and blood was indeed found indoors, implies she was assaulted inside and forcibly removed rather than snatched from the porch. If the violence began within the home, we have to ask a critical question. How did the perpetrator gain entry? The family found the door unsecured the next day. Was it left that way all night? Did she open it for a guest? Or did the intruder have a key? Since the son-in-law just dropped her off, did he have access? Then you have the issue of the daughter's vehicle. Why impound it? What ties that specific ride to the husband? Sources claim a connection exists, though specifics remain under wraps. Was that vehicle used to move the missing woman? Did they find forensic markers inside? Perhaps bloodstains or DNA traces? Police admit they seized the auto with a warrant for testing, but remain tight-lipped on the cause. Was there domestic strife we missed? Are we looking at a dispute over cash, a will, or deep-seated family issues, or is this theory completely off base? Perhaps the man is just a mourning relative being victimized by rumors. This case has become a battle between leaks and official statements. On the record, both the local sheriff and the feds claim they have 0 suspects and no specific persons of interest named. They claim to be vetting everyone equally. However, off the record, they are chasing very specific trails. Insiders say the son-in-law was flagged as the primary target within 24 hours of her vanishing. That informant has reportedly stuck to that narrative without wavering since the investigation kicked off. Let's review the hard facts. On February 5th, police returned to the victim's house. They taped it off again and spent hours placing yellow markers inside. A vehicle thought to belong to the missing woman was hauled off. Then, on February 8th, detectives hit the daughter's place. That was a voluntary entry. They spent hours snapping photos of the interior and walked out carrying sealed evidence bags. On February 12th, the Bureau dropped doorbell video revealing a masked figure standing roughly 5 to 10. He had a medium build, dark clothes, a camping backpack, and a pistol on his hip. The clip shows him trying to hide the lens with leaves. Immediately after that, the video feed cuts out completely. Authorities need tips from anyone recognizing his walk or gear. By February 15th, police were back at the son-in-law's house with a warrant. Authorities have gathered fresh evidence, yet the handcuffs remain unused. The genetic material found is absolutely the linchpin of this case. Detectives isolated male biological traces at Nancy's residence that do not match her or any of her immediate relatives. According to the Bureau, agents also secured a discarded glove located roughly 2 miles away from the crime scene. Inside that mitt, they discovered male DNA. Federal experts confirmed the profile from that clothing item is identical to the traces lifted from her home. Bottom line, whoever wore that glove was definitely inside Nancy's house. But a major puzzle remains. Who exactly does that sample belong to? If it points to Tomasos, why is he still walking free? Conversely, if it clears him, why did they raid his place on 2 separate occasions? The FBI ran the sequence through CODIS, the National Offender Index. It came back with 0 matches. That implies the individual behind this has managed to stay off law enforcement's radar until now. Alternatively, the traces could come from someone who had a valid reason to be there and isn't actually involved. Now, the team is pivoting toward forensic genealogy techniques. Ex-FBI official Frank Figluzzi explains this involves checking the unidentified profile against open-source ancestry platforms to locate distant kin. From there, they reverse engineer family trees to pinpoint the perpetrator. This same strategy took down the Golden State Killer. It is a slow burn. It is tedious work, but the results are proven. The real mystery is why anyone would abduct an 84-year-old woman with mobility issues. What drives a crime like that? If Tommaso is the culprit, what is his angle? Cash, an insurance payout, or perhaps a domestic feud? If he is innocent, then where do we look? A random drifter? Could it be another relative? Also, how does that masked figure caught on camera fit into this puzzle? Prosecutors have not filed anything yet since no one is in custody. However, serious consequences are looming for the suspect. We are looking at federal abduction counts. If they discover Nancy has passed away, those charges upgrade immediately to homicide. If her heart device failing contributed to her death, that triggers special circumstances. The punishment could be life behind bars or even execution. The bounty has now hit $100,000. Half comes from the Bureau, and the other $50,000 is from her kin. Information is pouring in, with more than 30,000 leads logged already. Yet Sheriff Nanos admits the breakthrough tip remains elusive. Several claimed ransom demands have reached news organizations, TMZ included. One message asked for $6 million in cryptocurrency by 5 in the afternoon on February 10th. That time came and went. There was no evidence shown that she is still alive. A second letter appeared with a new cutoff time. The Guthrie clan took to social platforms, posting direct video responses to the supposed captors. Savannah, standing alongside her brother and sister Cameron and Annie, stated, quote, "We got your note and we hear you loud and clear. This is Cameron Guthrie speaking. I am representing the entire family right now. To the person holding our mom, we are desperate to establish contact. We have received zero direct communication so far. You need to initiate a line of dialogue so we can progress this situation. But before anything else, we require proof that she is actually in your custody. We are ready to negotiate and are standing by for your signal." I just needed to jump on here because it has been a fortnight since mom was snatched, and I want everyone to know we are holding on to hope. We have not lost our faith. I also want to tell the person detaining her or anyone with knowledge of her location that you are not past the point of no return. You still have time to make the correct choice. We are waiting here, and we firmly believe there is a spark of decency inside every person. Carlos, what is your take on your name being splashed all over the headlines? I am clean. That is the only thing I can tell you. I have absolutely zero involvement in this mess. When they finally dropped the bomb that this was about an abduction, what went through your mind? Like, what on earth am I doing here? Honestly, I did not do a thing. I am innocent. I do not even know who that woman is. Do you have any idea who Savannah Guthrie is? Nope, I do not keep up with current events. I do not watch TV. You are asking if I watch the Today Show? Negative. So this entire situation caught me completely off guard. It really did. Look, I hope they catch the real bad guy because it certainly is not me. They need to step up, do their actual work, and find the perpetrator so my reputation gets restored and I can move on. Why do you suppose they targeted you? Yeah, if I had a clue why, I would tell you, but I am totally in the dark. So you are baffled about what pointed them your way? Zero. They never mentioned a vehicle model or a license plate, absolutely nothing. They did not even recall it until 2 hours had passed. Pace, it could be crucial. We know it is definitely part of the equation. This footage was recorded at 1:52 in the morning at a residence just 5 miles away from where Nancy Guthrie lives. The clip shows a male subject who is both wearing a knapsack and carrying a second one in his hands. The bag he is gripping features reflective safety bands that look identical to the pack the abductor had on when he appeared at Nancy's front door. It is hard to tell from the grainy footage where those shiny bands are placed, but they are definitely there. And as we noted yesterday, that is a generic store brand rucksack, the kind you see everywhere. This guy attempts to unlatch a residential gate but fails to get in, so he walks away at 1:53. The timeline is crucial here. If you recall the Bureau's statement last week, they confirmed Nancy's camera feed was cut right at 1:47. Sources close to the investigation confirmed to us that the file they recovered showing the suspect at Nancy Guthrie's porch was actually time-stamped at 2:12 in the morning. You will remember the feds didn't include a time when they first dropped that clip. They kept the exact hour quiet, but insiders verified the intruder appears on screen right at 2:12 a.m. That is the footage and evidence. Now, run the numbers on this scenario. If the perpetrator is standing there at 2:12 and the individual in that second clip 5 miles out departs the area at 1:53, that leaves a 19-minute window. If it is the same guy, that is a tight 19 minutes to drive 5 miles, suit up in a disguise, and approach the house. To be fair, we haven't confirmed this is him. All we know is that federal agents are treating this as a serious lead. The shockwaves from this event reach far beyond Tucson. It has started a nationwide debate on protecting our seniors, the limits of surveillance tech, and how exposed we really are inside our homes. Nancy played by the rules. She installed security. She kept in touch with her kids, yet a predator still managed to reach her. This is the detail that keeps me up at night. Her heart monitor stopped transmitting at 2:28. That isn't a software error. That signals blunt force trauma, severe panic, or possibly the end of her life. Officials haven't specified the cause, but a medical device failing during a kidnapping suggests brute force rather than a smooth operation. Nancy's children responded publicly, not with anger, but with an open door. You are not past the point of no return. You still have time to make the right choice. This case exposes something uncomfortable. Even a woman who did everything right, installed cameras, stayed connected to family, lived carefully, was not protected. Media speculation pointed at a family member as a suspect. It is important to be clear. No arrests have been made. No one has been charged. Everyone deserves the presumption of innocence. Asterisk, asterisk. When a case is unsolved, suspicion spreads fast. And the wrong accusation can destroy a life just as surely as the crime itself. Asterisk, asterisk. For families with elderly relatives living alone, check that their security camera subscriptions are active. A lapsed subscription meant crucial footage was unrecoverable in this case. Talk to elderly loved ones about a simple daily check-in system. A missed call, a door left unlocked, a skipped appointment, these are the signals that something is wrong. Consider whether an elderly family member living alone is in the right safety situation for their mobility and health needs. Independence matters, and so does protection. If you saw anything unusual near Tucson's Catalina foothills on or after February 1st, 2026, call 1-800-CALL-FBI. Tips are confidential. The reward is $100,000. Nancy had lived in Tucson for over 50 years. She drove herself, ran her house, and attended church. At 84, she was still fully, joyfully herself. She loved the desert breeze and the wildlife in her garden. She loved card games and the sound of her family laughing. She did not deserve what happened to her on that night. DNA evidence does not lie. Digital records leave trails that survive even careful planning. The investigation is still moving and the answers are still out there. One tip, one person who noticed something, one detail that seemed too small to mention, that is what breaks cases like this one open. Nancy Guthrie deserves to be found. Her family is still waiting, still hoping, still reaching out. If you know something, say something. 1-800-CALL-FBI. At 1 a.m., a masked figure approached an elderly woman's front door. He reached toward her security camera. He tried to block the lens with leaves, then he smashed it. 45 minutes later, Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker app went offline, her final digital trace. She has not been seen since. Nancy was 84. She could not walk 50 yards unassisted. She relied on daily heart medication to survive. She was taken from her own home, the place she had lived for over 50 years. She had just come home from a card game at her daughter's house. She hugged everyone goodbye, rode home, and walked inside. Hours later, the door was open, and she was gone. Blood was found on the entry. More blood was found inside. Her phone, her medication, her belongings all left behind. This was not someone who chose to leave. The security camera that should have captured everything was destroyed before the abduction. Because the subscription had lapsed, the backup footage could not be recovered. Male DNA was recovered inside the home, DNA that did not match Nancy or any of her known relatives. A discarded glove found 2 miles away matched the same profile exactly. That DNA was run through the National Criminal Database. No match. Whoever left it had no prior record. Investigators are now using forensic genealogy, the same method that caught the Golden State Killer. A ransom demand of $6 million was sent to a media outlet asking for payment in cryptocurrency. The deadline passed, no proof of life has been received.